All right, what's good in the hood? UFC 326 is nearly upon us. I'm going to spend some time looking at the main event. If you enjoy this video, drop a like. If you enjoy my special personality and you got a laugh out of this, give me a sub. And let me know in the comments what you think. How do you think this main event's going to play out? And what do you think these boys' futures are? All right, without further ado, it's BMF time. It is Max the Bless Holloway versus Charles Dubronx Oliveira, Charlie Alls himself. They're having their rematch. It's been like 10 plus years since the first fight, and it really wasn't that eventful. Charles had like a neck injury. They were both early in their careers, and fast forward, these boys have made a stamp in history. And it fittingly goes with the BMF belt and, you know, being the title of Bass Mother in the UFC. I mean, everyone already knows this. Max Holloway has the most significant strikes landed. Not just now, but probably forever. I don't think anyone is ever going to encompass his 3,600 and counting. I think at the rate he's going, he'll probably hit 4,000. While the next best guy, Sean, is probably going to retire in like a year or two. Angela Hill, pretty much past the hill herself. Same with, you get my point. I digress. The man has the most punches, significant punches, kicks, etc. ever landed. And he's still got a lot more to go. Props to him. On the other side, Mr. Charlie Olives, most finishes. Was it most submission wins? 17 and counting. And I believe he has the most, fight night bonuses, 21. So one of the most entertaining fighters of all time. But on top of it, the guy gets finishes. He has, 21 finishes in the UFC. And as I jump to my good old friends at Tapology, he has 24 wins. So, I mean, percentage-wise, this guy has a, 87% finish rate for how far he's been in his UFC career. And not to mention the opposition he's fought. It's not like, oh, you're looking at some Joe Schmo that doesn't fight ranked guys, so the finishes are more likely. He has fought the who's who of, featherweight, lightweight. Who knows? Maybe he'll go to welterweight. Like I said, 24-11. He's been in the UFC for, 15 years. On the flip side, Max Holloway blessed himself. Crazy, he's actually only 34, still on the younger side. 23-8. He's been also in the UFC for 13 years and counting since 2012. Not as crazy on the prolific finisher rate, but he still has 11 knockouts / TKOs and 2 submission wins. So more than half his fights go to a finish. So I'll say this, I'm no numbers guy, but statistically that screams someone's going to get finished by the end of 5 rounds. Records and all that, again, it's starkly similar. I mean, in the most recent fights, obviously they both fought Ilya and they both had disappointing losses. They both got finished. They both fought Justin Gaethje. They both fought Dustin Poirier. Obviously, Holloway was more regulated to featherweight, but now he's up at lightweight. And like I said, he has wins against Dustin Poirier. He has wins against Justin Gaethje, as does Charles. And they both have losses to Ilya. And I'm doing really rough MMA math, but we're just going off some recent results. Charles, he's been on a really back and forth skid. I mean, going back to his legendary run at lightweight where he came crashing against Islam and took his loss to end his first, his only title reign. He's pretty much went back and forth. I mean, he beat Beneil, but Beneil is old and graying out really bad. Needs that just for men. So he's pretty much out of the equation. Michael Chandler, that win, actually, his last 2 wins have been Chandler. So if you really think about it, his last most relevant wins are against a guy that is pretty much on retirement tour. Chandler, who hasn't really had a meaningful win since his debut against the Hooker himself. And that's it. Oh, well, what am I saying? He has Gamrot. I forgot. He has Gamrot, but even Gamrot is a guy that he's a tough lightweight, but he's been a letdown. For how good he is and the fact that he has a win over Arman, the number 1 contender in the division, no less, he's kind of a letdown, but he did smoke him. I'll give it to him. He smoked him in 2 rounds, finished him, submission. But yeah, he has the loss to Ilya Topuria. That was a nasty, nasty finish. He has a loss to Arman. He has the loss to Islam. Top of the top, but he has tasted defeat recently. On the flip side, Holloway, his record's looking pretty clean. After his loss to Volkanovski in the trilogy, he went out there and earned another title shot, which no one ever expected. He beat three decent fighters in the form of Arnold Allen, the Korean Zombie, although that was his retirement fight. It was still a good win. Obviously, this win is aging very well with Justin most likely fighting for the belt. He beat Justin in an absolute war. Stands the test of time with that final second finish. But then he also went and he lost to Taporia. He actually went the 3 rounds, though, so he went a lot farther than Charles did and actually put up a good fight against Ilya. And that's where I think, and obviously when cruise controlled through Dustin, but that's actually where I think of this actually might be a relevant case of MMA math. Max Holloway, like I said, he's still a very well-rounded, I don't want to say at the peak or at the pinnacle of his career, but he still seems to be at the near the best what he can be, at least compared to his past run and past fights and all that. And he showed against Ilya, who's, like I said, one of the best right now to do it. He held his own. He was striking with Ilya. He was taking his best shots. Eventually, his chin did crack by the 3rd round, but up until then, his chin had never cracked. On the flip side, Charles, I mean, this was a heartbreak for most of us when we saw Alves get finished this quickly, and it was a 3-punch combo, I believe, where he got finished in the first punch, and the rest were just unnecessary damage. But the point I'm making is that if we're doing that MMA math, Max seems to still be holding out chin-wise. He held out pretty well against Dustin. He got dropped slightly against Justin, not Dustin. He got slightly dropped by Justin, but for the most part, he's been fighting these killers, and he still has been able to take a good crack despite probably taking some of the most significant damage out of all fighters. He gave out the most, and he probably has absorbed some of the most if we go to the record books. Charles, even with his good win against Gamrot, let's be real, Gamrot is not a killer. He's not a heavy puncher, and he's a grappler. He's a wrestler more so, and that, if anything, I feel like feeds into Charles's chance to win. The problem is that Charles, I think his chin is like really, really deteriorating, and especially it's bad because you go watch his big legendary run at lightweight against, it was Justin, Dustin, and Chandler. He got dropped in all 3 of those fights, man. And he got dropped, I think, multiple times in the Justin fight. He got dropped, I think, 2 times in the Justin fight, maybe 2 times in the Dustin fight. He even got dropped pretty bad Chandler. And actually, both of Chandler's fights, he got dropped in both those fights. So he's been dropped, not to mention he got finished by Ilya, got dropped by Islam. Like, the point I'm making is that he's been dropped like 6 or 7 times in the last like 6 or 7 fights, which is really bad in the sense that either he just leaves his chin up, which he does because he likes to be aggressive, or his chin is gone after 35 plus fights in the UFC. MMA math, though, as we continue, Charles, I think the game plan is pretty clear. I would give him the power advantage. I would give him the finishing overall advantage. The stats don't lie, and I think that's going to have to be his path to victory. That you can't beat Max. He's not going to be able to beat Max over 5 rounds in a decision. He's going to lose rounds because he's going to get outstruck, I think. He's going to have to take to this ground. And that's actually surprisingly a big asterisk, is that Max, sure, he's not fought the most, and I'll actually skim his profile. He's not like fighting the most elite grapplers, but at the same time, I think we can all agree he has this like weirdly underrated trait of being like deceptively hard to hold down. And even at lightweight, he still has a pretty good frame where it feels like his defense is still going to carry over, and he's very good at keeping the distance, circling as needed. So he's never really crowd controlled into like, a bad clinch against the cage, that kind of stuff. And Charles definitely showed against Gamrot that he's got some good offensive takedown ability. And once he gets to the ground, it's like, generally over. Like, you're going to either lose the round in the case of Chandler where you can't get up, or you're going to get submitted. But I don't think that's going to happen. And this is where I get concerned, because it's like the stats don't lie. Like, Charles is the finisher, Charles is the submission artist. But Max, historically, as we've seen, does not get taken down and held down. And he puts up a beating outside of, like I said, Volkanovski, maybe like the 3rd fight in Ilya, but even Ilya took damage. Everyone else seems to be at a disadvantage when it comes to the striking affair. Max still seems to carry a decent amount of power at lightweight, as we saw. And I mean, he dropped Dustin, and I think like 2 times in their fight, and he dropped him in the first round, no less. I just feel like this fight's going to play out where Holloway might get taken down, but unless he plays stupid, he's never going to get caught too compromising. If he does, he'll play defensive until the round ends, and he's going to win on the feet. And I think Charles is going to get cracked. Charles is going to get cracked a lot, and it makes me feel like he's going to finish Charles on the feet. Kind of like he almost did Dustin. I think the only difference between Dustin and Charles is that Dustin, for the most part, has way better defense. And I think his chin was a lot more, even in his retirement fight, it was a lot more held up than where Charles is right now. And I think the reality is we're going to bias recency on, well, he looked great against Gamrot, bro. Gamrot doesn't have any finishing ability nor power. Like, get that through your head. He does not have power. Max does have some power. It's not like instantaneous kill power, although he did it to Justin. He still has power. I mean, over half his wins are by TKO, KO. I feel like that's what's going to happen. Maybe probably like third, fourth round, possibly fifth. And if it doesn't, it's going to go decision. I don't expect Charles to. And if Charles does win, it's going to be probably in a case of kind of like what he did Justin, where he's gonna crack him with a hard shot and drop them, because these guys are all tough guys, but they've been through so many wars that if you get cracked at the right time, you're gonna get dropped. And if he drops Max, then I think he's gonna easily go for, like I said, a rear naked or something. And Max, even with his good jiu-jitsu and just awareness, he's gonna be cracked and he's not gonna be able to do much. But that's my prediction. The real thing I want to talk about is this damn leprechaun. I think this guy is, and I think there's an article that came out or whatever, a headline that says he likes to fight late summer or something. So around, we'll say July, probably around International Fight Week, no less. If he's on the White House card, he's either saving it or definitely Dana's saving him for like International Fight Week, which is like a week after the White House card. So they're going to have some heavy hitters for that anyway, because that's generally like one of the biggest, it's the biggest week of fighting, no less. Like whatever you think of the White House card. And I feel like no better way to have his return than to do that. And the reality is, sure, there's rumors he could have fought Carlos, whatever. Chandler's always out there. He has history with Max. He beat Max, 10 plus years ago. He has history with Charles in the sense that you can go look this up, because I remember it instinctively. When he fought Dustin the third time, he had a Brazilian mouth guard in, because at the time Charles was the champ at lightweight. He was going to call it Charles after he beat Dustin. Obviously, his leg blew up. He became crippled for 3 years. But I feel like he wants the BMF belt because, let's be real, Connor's a BMF himself, even if he at times doesn't always show it. And he has history with both men. I don't know where they would do with the weight class. Maybe they do it at like a 165. Who knows? But for him, it's probably a winnable. I think it's a winnable fight, because both those guys will less so Charles, but they're both going to probably want to stand with Connor for a bit. And yeah, I think he's playing it safe, knowing that neither Charles, less so Max, but definitely not Charles. Like, they both want to fight Ilia Topuria because they both want the lightweight belt, especially Max to get double champ status. I don't think Charles has any stake unless he kills Max in the first round. Even then, there's no reason for Ilia to rematch Charles. It just doesn't make any sense in the cards, especially with this looming Justin fight slowing up the schedule. Charles has really no direction if he beats Max and gets the BMF belt. In the case of Max, he would have to just wait, and I just don't feel like he'd want to wait, especially if Connor is going to challenge you for the BMF belt. So I think they're both in the back of their mind knowing that if they don't come out of this with any like real injuries, well, what am I saying? If they come out of this with no injuries and it's a clean fight, doing like a July turnaround, very reasonable for a money fight with Connor, especially if they both are confident they think they could finish Connor in a first round return fight. It just feels like that's what this Destiny is all about. And for Connor, I get where he's coming from. He has maybe one fight left. If he can beat one of these fellas, he sets him up for so many fights. He'll have the BMF belt, so he'll be like talking about third champ status. But on top of it, if he assumably can make lightweight, which I think he can with time down the road, he's setting up a mega fight with Ilia. He could be trying to plant the seeds to fight Islam. There's all sorts of other easy names. Like, he could set up a rematch with Nate. He could set up a rematch with Dustin if he wants. He could set up a match with Jorge. That's another. Like, there's just so many names. He just needs a win on his record, and the BMF belt's just going to be extra hardware to justify future Connor main events. And I think it makes sense. Like, I think Dana likes it. And I think Charles and Max like it because they know they'll probably make some extra money, even with this Paramount deal. Anything with Connor probably can get added on your contract. And it's a nice little feather to have. Sure, he's depleted in all this, but who doesn't want to beat Connor? Who doesn't want to make their name off Connor, even in 2026? Let me know what you think, though. Who do you have in this main event? Do you have Charlie Alves? Do you have Bless Max Holloway? How do you think this fight pays out? well, not pays out. They're getting flat rate probably for this. How do you think this plays out? So I'm gassing out myself. And what do you think these boys, like, what should they do? I mean, they could try to fight Arman. Arman has said he's willing to fight for the BMF belt, but does that make sense? Charles has already lost Arman, and Max, I would probably favor over Arman, but you know, there's a lot of danger in that, just with him being able to probably take you down and probably hold you down. And yeah, it's just like, and it loses your position in the totem pole to fighting Ilya. So I don't know. Let me know what you think. Subscribe. I'm going to try to do one more video before the main event airs Saturday, and then I'll give my 2 cents, because hopefully we get some more clarity on this lightweight division, because it's so goddamn jam logged. Stay tuned.